What's up, guys? I'm using the audio from the mic on the camera. I brought this, the thing that plugs in from here to the laptop, and then the XLR to the mic. So I forgot two cables. So we're just going to use the mic from the camera, and we're going to talk about all the new cool things that are happening right now. Biden got COVID, which is sad because he is our leader, and without him we are adrift at sea. A lot of our country relies upon Biden's leadership and energy, so of course without Biden we're going to suffer horribly. Unfortunately, our dear leader has gotten sick and he's 80 years old. But yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, which is in Florida in the Americas, and I did a little run. You know, the Florida run started out unexpectedly with a phone call on Tuesday that I was going to go to Dania Beach with Michael Yo, opening up for the great Michael Yo, and I opened up a weekend at the Dania Beach Improv. So I was just doing that. So I did a weekend in Dania Beach. I bombed a lot there just because they're like a bunch of upper middle class suburban folk there, and it's just, I don't think that they like playing around with racism and the Holocaust. They've got their mindset, and they don't really want to hear a new take on Ukraine. They just want to be like, oh no, this is just how we're doing Ukraine. We can't think about Ukraine any other way. So I just think that they were very rigid people that weren't really flexible in their intellectual queries. But then I went back to Austin, did Kill Tony, did my dating show, and then I went back out into the great realm of Florida, and I did Naples. I did Tuesday, Wednesday at Naples Off the Hook Comedy Club. Met some great people there, hung out after the show, just had a great time. You're like 20 minutes away from Daytona. Why are you at the small beach? I mean, how big does the beach have to be? I just need like a couple of fucking yards of sand and then the water. I don't really. It's like once a beach is beachy enough, then it's really no different from any other beach. The difference between a beach that's amazing and a beach that's just like normal, average beach is pretty similar to me. Unless you like going. But other than that, it's just sort of like I'm just there for my own self-care. I'm gonna go in the ocean, I'm gonna sit in the sand, and you don't really need a lot of space to do that. So yeah, I don't really understand the appeal of a boutique beach unless you like to go there and awkwardly not talk with strangers. Unless you're like really into talking with strangers, that's fun. I didn't know Andrew Schultz was on Jerry. I think that I did see him. I did definitely meet Andrew Schultz in person at his studio. I was in Andrew Schultz's studio when Joe Rogan was recording that podcast that he did. I was in the green room for that, and it was an adventure. It was like a little play. There were different characters. We were all waiting our asses off. It was 3 hours. We thought it'd be 1 hour, maybe 2, and it was 3. We're all just sitting there, and we're all going through our own emotional shit, and it was like a really crazy green room trip just to be sitting there. And it was literally like a play. There was like different characters, and one day, if I ever want to win a Tony Award or whatever, I want to film that as a play. I think that'd be really funny, because there were so many different characters and different things going on. Yeah, I mean, if beaches suck, it's like it sucks. If it's like not sandy enough, or if it's too rocky, or if there's too much driftwood, then it's not a good beach. But yeah, it was like The Bodyguard. There was another comedian that I probably shouldn't say who he was there. We were all waiting. There was Joe's friend, who's like a pool hustler, that was there. There was me. I like to think I was a narrator because I had no other purpose. I had no defining character. Experience to be in the green room for that. But yeah, so I did the first week in Dania Beach with Michael Yo opening up for him, featuring at the Dania Improv. Bombed a lot there just because the audience there I don't think was really my style of audience. They really weren't there to, they were sort of a normal, just upper middle class, old people who weren't really that interested in thinking in new ways or questioning America's place in the world. And then I went back home, then I went out to Off the Hook in Naples, Florida, and did 2 shows there. Then I opened up for Tony Hinchcliffe at the Improv in Tampa, the Tampa Improv, and then I went back home. And then I went to Tampa again to do Side Splitters, and then I did Winter Haven, where there was like 70 tickets sold, but 20 of the, or like 50 tickets sold, but 20 of the people didn't show up. They're like, we've never had this many no-shows before. I don't know what happened, but people didn't show up. But the Side Splitters in Tampa, it was pretty much sold out. And then last night in New Smyrna Beach was pretty much sold. It was definitely sold out. So, you know, Winter Haven kind of fucked up, but the people that were so nice, they gave me this gift. This guy, Nathan Bearden, gave me this little gift, handcrafted. He works for like the MLB or something. And there's a little shoddy glass in here. So the people that were really nice and they were really excited for the show, but like some of the people that bought tickets didn't show up. I don't know what happened. And then last night was here in New Smyrna Beach at Madcap's Comedy Club, which was a really packed house full of drunk white people. I don't think like 30% people, the people in Dania Beach, they were just kind of stuck in their ways, and they were just, you know, they're old and Floridian. They don't give a shit. They're too rich and white to care about what other people think about them. They're just gonna act a fool. They have no shame. So they were heckling and they were acting a fool. But I hope I got some good clips. I think I slammed a couple of them, so hopefully I can put that up online. But yeah, they were like really offended that I said that the Supreme Court was shitting all over women. And they were like, how dare you? We love the Supreme Court here. So like politically, you know, we were on different wavelengths. So I think that was a contributing factor. Yeah, I mean, I wish I was an actor doing stand-up comedy. Unfortunately, I'm just doing stand-up comedy. You know, it's pretty easy to do. There's a low barrier of entry. Anyone can do it. It's hard to get an audience to come out for you. And I'm in this lucky spot where an audience does come out for me, so I'm trying to utilize it and exploit it for financial gain. I have a lot of merch that I'm probably not going to sell out of. I wish I didn't order so many, but yeah, I got a lot of merch. I'm going to put it up online so that people can buy it until I get home and I get situated, but I should be home for a little bit, and then this weekend I'm going on a little trippy poo. I don't know if I can say where and how and with who, but let's just say I'm excited for it. And there's also a little sporting event that I might be at, so it should be fun. Yeah. The SNL guy. I don't know which SNL guy you're talking about, but yeah, I woke up today, put out my poster, put out a post bragging about how many people showed up on Instagram. And then I went to the beach, took a little dip. There was like cars parked on the beach, which is crazy. They just drive along the beach here. Let me see, display capture. Okay, sure. My mouse disappears. Let's scoot this one down. The fuck? Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there was cars parked on the beach, which I think is unnecessary. It's like, you know, it's kind of dangerous to have cars right next to people just laying around. And it kind of ruins the vibe when there's giant cars blocking the view, and it's just polluting and loud and ugly. And there was like a golf cart there that had the Trump flag, the back the blue flag, and the Confederate flag that was just trolling along. Yeah, and it was just like an interesting, trashy environment that I was in. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just an interesting choice, an interesting display of priorities. But yeah, this is the beach, and they're just like parked along the beach. It's like, why don't you just build a parking lot next to the beach instead of parking on the beach? Like, it's paved over so much of the shit. And it's like they have this giant 5-lane, 6-lane, 5-lane, I think, 5-lane highway, this road that's not really a street and not really a highway. And it's just like, it's impossible to walk next to. It's like you have this wonderful beach, and then right next to it is a giant road that humans aren't allowed next to. So it's like tempting humans to go there, and then it's making it difficult once you're there to be a human. But if you made like a nice community around the beach, then you wouldn't need to park on the beach. It's like, this is the only place we haven't paved over. Let's drive our cars on it. It's like, why don't you just create a livable, walkable community right next to the beach so that you don't have to park on the beach. But yes, it was just an interesting thing where like Americans, they just love cars so much that they build everything for cars. If I were offered SNL, I'd probably take it. But I'm probably not going to get offered SNL. And I don't really know what the point of SNL is. I guess I like making sketches, but I don't really have any practice at it. I want to be good at making sketches for a while. But it's a great skill to learn. It's a great language to learn how to communicate in, so I'd love to get a crash course. I'm getting a bit lately. 2 shark attacks in July. Head way down south, it's amazing. Oh yeah, to the South Padre Island. I've been there. Yeah, I just don't really like it. Just don't like the vibe there. It's just like everyone's trying to be tough, and you know, like people who are white have an advantage, and my ethnicity and the novelty of my ethnicity is easily ignored. Like, whatever, we love white people. And it's like, here in smaller cities, it's like you have to be something that they understand. You have to be like, fucking, oh, you're a douchebag with a backwards baseball cap, and you probably love drinking beer, and you're in a frat, or you're like an athletic black dude, and they're like, oh, we understand that character, that stereotype. But if you're like somewhere in the middle, and you're like sort of unclear, it's not clear what kind of character type you are, then people don't immediately know, because these are simple folk. They need to understand who you are at a glance, or that they don't have any empathy for you, or are willing to understand you and try to figure you out. So I think it helps to have like an immediate look to you here in the country, in the fucking smaller cities. And I don't think that I have an immediate character or look. So I don't think I'm very successful in the sexual marketplace here. But yeah, also I get in my head and I'm like, oh, like, do these people want to talk to me? Like, are they like small town minded? Are they going to be like, oh, who are you? Who are you friends with? What are you doing here? It's like, does everyone know each other here? And it's like, they don't really take kindly to conversing with strangers. Like, I think talking with strangers is a skill, and I don't think that you get enough practice if you're out in the country. And yeah, it just feels like it's like easier for them to be mean to me. I just am not down to be mean to. So I just don't like going out here. But it should be fun if I like don't give a fuck and I can just go up to people and be like, hey, what's up, you fucking country hicks? You ever see an Asian before? And just like talk shit to them. But yeah, I just think that there's a lot of like aggression here that's unchecked because they're not around people like you are in the city. So when they see a person, they're more likely to fight them and be aggressive and violent. But in the city, if you're aggressive and violent to people, then you're just going to be exhausted because you're always around people. So there's like, in the city, there's more people. A person has not fought more people given the opportunity. Like the percentage of people that they fought versus the percentage of people they could have fought is very low. Whereas in the country, like they don't see as many people, and so they don't have as much practice not fighting with people. So yeah, I mean, I just don't like the vibes, and I also don't like, I think it's political too. I don't think it was always like this. I think people kind of downloaded the latest political shit going on. They're like, oh, we are hateful and violent and aggressive and selfish given what Trump is putting out there. Let me be more like that. That's who I'm supposed to be. This is American. And like back in the day, they were like, an American is a good, hard-working man who respects people and loves nature and is out in the country. But now, like, they're like, I'm an American, I don't give a fuck about Mexicans, fuck you. I'm gonna make a lot of money and I'm gonna make you suffer. So I just feel like there's a lot of that in small towns which are more conservatives. This fucking AC is leaking, dropping water. But yeah, it just feels like it's like a thing that's been happening lately, where like people are a little more aggressive out in the country because that's what they think that they're supposed to do. They're like, oh, we're fighting the libs. The libs are nice and soft and pussies. Let me be the opposite. Let me be aggressive. And also, like, COVID put a lot of people economically deprived, so that they're more stressed out and more likely to be angry. But yeah, I didn't like going out last night. I don't like the vibes. I don't like the way that people acted. But, you know, maybe that's just me. Maybe I need to go out tonight and just talk to strangers and just be vulnerable and open myself up to this world that is mostly good and just see what happens. Just instead of being afraid and being like, oh, these are all Trump supporters who are shitty and dumb, maybe I should just be like, hey, these are human beings that, you know, they came out, they want to connect. But yeah, like I was walking along the street and this pickup truck rolls on by, and then the guy, right when he gets right next to me, he barks at me really loudly. And it's just like stuff like that, just, you know, it's just like, oh, you're all like this. Which isn't true, you know, like there's a lot of people that want to connect and want to, you know, build communities and learn about other people and become more enriched with socialization. And that guy is probably frustrated and angry and tense and in a bad mood or whatever, and he's just like being shitty to people. But yeah, I just feel like it's normal to treat people shitty in America. It's like there's fucking black people that aren't you, and you can enslave them and make them work for you or put them in prison and call the cops on. And it's just like, I don't feel like people value people as much, and they just bark at them and just treat them shitty and just make the world a shittier place. Yeah, but that really fucked me up when that guy barked at me, which is what he was trying to do, so I should counteract that by ignoring people like that. Hans, do you ever miss the van? Yeah, I do miss the van. I wish I had the van here. I just like having everything I own with me. Like I had a dream that I had my longboard here and I could longboard places. I like that aspect of it. I like having the longboard and everything I own with me. But yeah, I think like right now we're in a space culturally where we're a little frazzled and there's a lot of weird energy, and I think we can get out of it if we fix our politics and fix what we're doing as a country and our vibes and our culture. It's like we got to figure out what we're about. Are we about just trying to make as much money as possible for our own benefit? But then it's like if you just are into your own benefit, then you should be nice to other people, because people who are not nice to other people are miserable. So if you really want to be the best, you know, like feel the best and fucking been like all about yourself and yourself, your emotions and feeling the best about yourself, then you shouldn't really care about other people. At the end of the day, like, that's what everyone says. So, I mean, even if you want to be selfish and shit, you should still care about other people to some degree. Like, that's the thing, is like, even all these people that are selfish, they're like, I only care about myself and my family. I save all my empathy that I should have for my community and my species for my family, so that I have so much empathy for my family and zero of it for anyone else. And it's like, you don't want to live in a community that you don't love. You love everyone you see at the grocery store instead of just your family, and you mean mugging everyone at the grocery store except your family. And then you're going to treat your family shitty because your family are just people, and you've practiced being mean to people that are shaped like people. But yeah, I mean, I think that overall, it's like we gotta choose. Are we gonna like be nice to each other and try to give each other healthcare, or are we going to fucking only think about our selfish profits? Because we all know how that turns out. At the end of the day, if you only care about your profits, then you destroy the planet. And you ruin everyone else, and that ruins you, because we're communal animals. We need a healthy society to be healthy individuals, and we need healthy individuals to make a healthy society. But if you only focus on creating awesome, healthy selves, your own selves, then you're gonna have a shitty community environment. Yeah, on hiatus, if you want to make me intros and edit videos, please let me know. I'll pay you. I usually pay $10 per clip. Like the clips that you see on my IG or my stories, the little podcast clips where I'm just talking to the camera, those I paid the guy $10 for. Yeah, what was I talking about? Communities. Oh yeah, like some people are like, never question the community, always work on yourself. But at some point, the community is detrimental to the individuals. So when does that happen? When is working on yourself not good enough? And when do you have to actually work on your community? And how shitty can people make your community before you're like, wait a minute, if there were proper roads here instead of giant highways dissecting my city, maybe I could have a more fulfilling life and be a better individual. Maybe if I had more education, I'd be a better person. And if there's the whole vibe is like, if the whole culture is just saying never question your society, only work on your individual self, then they can just detract and pillage and rape the community for their own personal benefit, and never work on creating the community to be a better place, because everyone's just focused on themselves. Like if you create a swimming pool that everyone can go to, then everyone's life is enhanced by a swimming pool's worth of amount, and then everyone can become better. But if everyone is not given a swimming pool, then nobody has that swimming pool, and we can't utilize that to make our lives better. So it helps to fucking have things, that people can use, and if you have good communities, you create good individuals. There is no individuals without the community, and to only focus on the individual and not the community is like the worst way to create an individual. I think it's important to create great communities, walkable cities that foster humanity, You know, like if there was a town square I could go to where I could sit around and be relaxed and not have cars running by at 50 miles per hour right next to me, then I would be there right now. But you know, it's just like if you live in a suburban plot and there's nothing but houses for 550, or what's a good number, 10 square miles, then it's like you're just gonna stay at home and not connect with other people. So I think suburbs are like kind of problematic. They hurt the whole thing. Yeah, I wish we could create walkable cities in America. I mean, New York does a great job, but you know, they don't really keep up the infrastructure. Their subways are falling apart, and they have like a really American approach to creating their cities and how much they fund their cities. Like if you go to Asia, they spend money on that shit because this is like Asia. This is like Korea. This is where the Koreans live. It's like going to, you know, Asgard, and this is like where the Thor people live. Why would we create a shitty home? Oh, we gotta wait for the profit motive to tell us when to improve our city? Why don't we just improve our city when we feel like it, whenever we need to, instead of waiting around for the invisible hand of the free market or the benevolence of a billionaire for us to improve our city? We can just be like, I think we're gonna fix this subway right now. Like everyone pitch in and have like a system where you use tax money efficiently. Yeah, I mean, it's like kind of fucked because like taxes are used corruptly, but whose fault is that? Corporations and billionaires who bought out our government and use it to make themselves richer. Like if you hate government, then you really hate corporations who buy out our government through lobbying. What do you mean New York subways are falling apart? I mean, they're not very well kept up. If you look at the subways in Japan and Tokyo compared to New York subways are dirty. They're very low maintenance. They don't even have cameras in all of them. In Japan, and I mean in Korea, they have like doors between the tunnel and the platform. It just looks like a nice place. Like if you go to a New York City subway, it looks like someone's dirty bathroom. It looks like the bathroom of a dude who lives in New York. That's like, it's all tiles, it's grouty, it's gross. Yeah, I mean, if you want to fund the infrastructure and fix it, like we can just decide to do that as a city. Like, okay, I've had enough of these dirty subways, you know, like it's like the cheapest cement that they could find that's like dry erase, so you can wipe the blood off every time a homeless person pukes all over it. It's just dirty, and the trains don't run on time. It's like the trains run whenever they fucking feel like it. It's very American that way. Fuck you. I'll come when I want to, and you'll just take it. Like that kind of mentality doesn't work for a public good. Mr. Beast is paving the way for that in his own way. I mean, I respect that, but I think we need a more systemic change. We can't just rely on YouTube celebrities to fix our cities and our country for us. Because YouTube celebrities are just people that live in this country, and we already have a lot of those, and we can pool our resources together to be greater than Mr. Beast. We just choose not to do that. We choose not to work together, and if we decide to work together, we can be greater than Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is great, but we can't just rely on individuals to do that. We gotta be working as a group. We need to use all the individuals instead of just one individual at a time. But yeah, I mean, it's great that we help individuals and stuff. But I think overall we need to like really just come together and as a group figure it out. Democracy, you know. Like I feel like for a place that prides itself in democracy, we very rarely use it. We just let billionaires shape the country however they want, and we don't really we don't really use the power of the people to fix our shit, because we're like, yeah, freedom and democracy, but not communism. We gotta put limits on the power we give people. We gotta have capitalism, not communism. So it's like there's like a natural barrier to working together and all vote on, and that's communism. It's like we can't have too much democracy or else that'll be communism. So we have this idea of freedom, but then we use that freedom to just let billionaires use their money however they want. It's like, just because you have money doesn't mean that you are going to use that money for the good of the country. You're going to use it for the good of yourself, which is not always for the good of the country, because the country is made out of people who, most of them are not rich billionaires. So you're going to make the world a worse place for a lot of Americans. And if you make the world a worse place for most of the people, then you're going to have less cool people in America. And if you have less cool people, your country's going to suffer. This country is people. If we don't value people, then we're not going to have a good country. And how do we treat people? We treat them as crop. We use them as minimum wage employees to enrich one billionaire. And it's great for that one guy, but I think the sum of our parts would be greater if more people were awesome instead of one guy being super awesome. Like, how awesome does Elon Musk have to be to make up for all the people that have been exploited by our system? But yeah, I mean, I think that we should create a more rich, fulfilling society, and we're just used to seeing people as trash. Oh, that person is just garbage. This person is not valuable. Let's just throw him away, and that way we can value the valuable people more. But I think that we should value everybody. And I know that sounds like participation trophy, softness, and bullshit like that. But I think that's the most efficient way to use humans. I think it's just a better way to utilize a resource that is humans, is to foster and develop and encourage them, and not to just throw them away when they're not being useful or productive, and to only praise a certain number of them. I think you get a lot more cool, awesome people and awesome things when you emphasize and help everybody and not just a small number of people. But Biden got COVID, you know, I think it was bound to happen. Eventually, COVID has not gone away. It's just a thing just lingering in the background, and hopefully it dies a peaceful death, and it just peters away. It just, you know, just sort of dies slowly or whatever. But I don't know if we're in a good place right now. I think COVID really got us angry at each other and fighting, and I think there's like a certain population that was just like, no, I don't believe what you had to say about COVID. I'm going to figure it out on my own, and anything that the group tells me to do, I'm not going to do. I'm automatically going to assume it's wrong and do it my way. And I think that that puts us in a bad position for the next pandemic. Idrift says, what do you do with someone that just doesn't want to contribute? A utopia is achieved by everyone doing their part. I think what you do with people that don't want to contribute is you set them up with food and housing and say, good luck, figure it out on your own. Just don't hurt us. You know, we will give you what we need. We'll give you what you need to survive, so don't be angry at us. And what more do you want to contribute? Like, look at the system that we have now that's actively predatory and preying upon the people, and people still want to contribute to this system, mainly out of survival and fear. Well, not mainly, partly out of fear and survival, but the desire to contribute and to help the community that you're part of is innate in humans. And it's only a sick society that people don't want to contribute to, which is what we have now. Like, what do we have? Why do you want my life? Why do you want to use up all my life's energy to work in a corporation to make a dude richer? Like, that is the purpose we have for people, and people still want to contribute to this system. People still take a lot of meaning. So if people are willing to sacrifice their life and contribute to this system that is giving them nothing in return spiritually, then how much better and how much more will people want to contribute when we have a society that is honest with its people and say, here, we'll give you what you need to survive. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to survive on this planet sustainably and also explore Mars. So if you want to be a part of any of that, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. Then people are going to want to contribute even more than they already do now, which is still amazing that people want to be doctors and people want to go to broken communities that we have and help that shit. Like, people that just don't want to contribute, that's not a very good feeling. It's a very bad feeling to be ostracized from the group and to feel like you're not contributing, because a lot of our evolution is based on survival within a group. And it's like, if deer can do it, if deer can be in a herd and all contribute and help each other, then humans are way more advanced than deer, and our empathy and our ability to survive in a community is way stronger. But right now we have a society that is actively trying to trap people into these jobs that do nothing for you, besides give you a job title and, like, you know, some status in society, but they don't help you become a better person. They just help you make flowcharts and PowerPoint presentations and send emails just to make a company more money. That is like the purpose of a lot of these jobs, is to just, like, you know, improve the bottom line of some company and to appease the stockholders. So, I mean, if we have a system like that, of course people aren't going to want to contribute. So we're like, oh, people don't want to contribute, so we should make a more predatory system that forces people to contribute. But I think if you create a system that doesn't force people to contribute, people want to contribute even more. Is that a vibrator you're sitting on, or your air conditioning? That's my air conditioning. It just turns on like once every 10 seconds and buzzes. It's fucking weird. How long did you live in Texas? I lived in California for like 3 months, and I lived in Texas for about a year now. Capital Cap is a nice solution by iDrift. I think what we need is an equation, algorithm that you can plug in and see how much everyone is making. Like, how much does a McDonald's employee actually bring in the company? Pay him that much. And don't pay him minimum wage. Pay him what he's actually bringing to the company. And then pay the CEO what he's actually doing, instead of the maximum amount possible. You don't funnel all the profits into the hands of the people that own McDonald's. You distribute it fairly within the company. Like, if there's a guy that comes up with a new sauce that does really well, you pay him fairly for that sauce idea, to incentivize him to create the next sauce and to reward him for creating value that has increased the profits of that company and brought joy into the world. I think that if you pay people minimum wage, then you're just not using money in the way that it's supposed to be used. It's supposed to be a tool that accurately reflects reality, and right now it's just abused, and people are victimized by money, and they're paid the least amount possible, and then people who have the power to distribute money pay themselves the most amount possible, and money doesn't flow. It isn't a great communication tool like it should be. Like if people at McDonald's that flipped a burger, if you plug it into the equation and they brought in $3 for making that burger and giving it to this person, then the economy would be a more rich, more fulfilling place where money is used like a communication tool. Oh, you made me happy, here's some money, like, oh, here's some more money because you helped us change a flat tire. I think that would be a better world, but right now we don't have a world where money is used in the way that it's supposed to be, and where the communication doesn't happen with money. And instead it's just used by the people who are rich to hoard it for themselves, and they just give the minimum amount possible that we're willing to accept. And that minimum wage changes, depending on how much people are willing to put up with. Like a McDonald's worker doesn't earn $7.25 an hour. They bring in way more value to the company, and all that value that they bring in is going to the rich, to the CEOs, to the executives, to the stockholders. Instead of giving all that money that the McDonald's employee is bringing in, which isn't minimum wage, it's way more than minimum wage, otherwise that they would be out of business, then you will have a more rich economy. The economy will be able to communicate with each other. Like the McDonald's employee isn't earning minimum wage. He isn't only bringing in minimum wage to the company. He's bringing in way more than that. The only way companies make money is by paying people as little as possible. If you have a company that pays people accurately, then it's not going to be as beneficial for them in the short term, and they're going to be out-competed with. But yeah, I mean, if you want to have a country that is only interested in its short-term survival, then just continue to parasitize your people. Continue to parasitize your people so that you can make money off of them in the short run, and then you'll eventually cave. I think wages, should be bargained for. Like you should have an equation. Like how much is this person actually bringing in, instead of just paying them minimum amount possible. Like why is that such a horrible thing? Like you think that people that work at McDonald's shouldn't get paid fairly? You want them to be exploited? You want them to get the minimum amount possible instead of like what they're actually bringing in? Like wouldn't it be better if we all accurately knew how much money we were accurately bringing in? The value of minimum wage and how much minimum wage you make changes based on state. So are you saying that some people, if you're working in, say, Maine, your flip of a burger is worth twice that of someone in Mississippi with no minimum wage? And it's like, you can't just let people who own McDonald's pay people however you want. You can't just be like, okay, the people that own everything decide how much we get paid and we'll just take it, because they're going to give you 2 cents a day if you let them. That's just that's their motive. They don't want to pay you. The only way that workers can fight against being paid as little as humanly possible is by unionizing and using our power as a collective to bargain with something behind it. Otherwise, just taking whatever the CEOs give you is not a fair amount. That's being a bitch. That's being a loser. That's just laying down and taking it. Like, to have an accurate wage determined for what you're doing, what you need to do is fight and figure out what they're willing to give and what they're willing to take, and unionize and fight the bosses to find out how much you're actually worth. But the government comes in like Reagan did during the air traffic controller strike, and he's like, no, you can't do that. I'm forcing you to work, and you don't accurately figure out how much the workers can bargain for, then you don't have an accurate system. And we don't have very high unionization rates in America, so we have a system where one side has one hand tied behind their back, and they have to fight the people that own capital and who own the company, and they have to just take it. Like, there is no other side of the equation anymore. It's just whatever the bosses decide to pay us is how much we get paid. Not all jobs create revenue. Well, then you should be out of business. If you create a job that doesn't create revenue, then why are you hiring people? I mean, we should contribute more, and we should have people have better jobs and have more skills, but what kind of education system do we have? Do we create better people? Do we have like an education system that creates better people? Like, we don't even try to create better people, and then we're like, well, you shouldn't be working at McDonald's. Well, look at the schools that you have set up for them. They're children, they're babies, and they have no way of succeeding. You don't put them in good schools. They're in chaotic environments. You jail up their dad, and then you're like, you shouldn't be working at McDonald's. Well, you should create a better society if you want better people. You can't just do zero for people. You can't just fund infrastructure the minimum amount possible and then expect people to be amazing. The fact that people are amazing just goes to show you how amazing people are. And imagine how much more awesome we'd be if we had the basic tools that we need to survive and to succeed. They're not forced to work there, though. Well, how are they going to live if they don't have any money? Like, just because you're not putting a gun to their head doesn't mean they're economically coerced to work at a shitty job, because that's the only place that they have. When was the first time you heard of crypto? Were you surprised by its ups and downs? What do you mean by leaders? You mean rich people, corporations, old white men in the Hamptons and mansions? They're the ones that allow this to happen. America used to have a great unionization history. We are where the May started. Alabama had great unions during World War II. A lot of black people unionized there. I think crypto is good. I think we're just trying to use crypto like how we use every other part of this economy, and we're trying to speculate on it and shift things around, and it's just like, it's such a waste of energy. Like, we could be actually creating something instead of speculating, like, oh, I think this one's going to do good. Oh, I think that one's going to do good. It's like such a waste of time and money and energy, and it's like, I think we should be more interested in creating value instead of like using crypto as a Ponzi scheme to trick other people. But yeah, I mean, other countries have way higher unionization rates. They actually love each other more, and they want each other to do well. You know, like in America with slavery, we got used to treating people shitty, and they were like, we're gonna make it harder for poor people to do things. And we heard that and we're like, oh, you mean black people? Yeah, that's fine. You know, like, it's okay if they suffer because it's good for them overall. I mean, look at how awesome of a country we are. So fuck the poor. I think it's important to just have some sort of system that helps people become awesome, especially children. If you have a system where it's not possible to rise above where you're born, then it's not a good system. And the system that we have in America is very focused on preserving the wealth where it is now. Our goal isn't to create the best shit all the time. It's to help the people that are the richest in our country preserve that wealth. And you can see it in the numbers. You can see it in our inner cities and our education. And And I think that if you look at other countries, they have a very high social mobility rate. Like if you're born in the bottom percentile, if you're born in the bottom quarter of your society, the chances that you are going to be in any of the other quartiles of your society should be 25%. And the less that's true, the more of an unfair system you had. And I mean, that brings to question the genetic component. Like, what if some people are just born dunces and they just give birth to dunces, and no matter how much of a good education you give them, they're still going to be dunces. Unfortunately, right now in America, we don't have a system that has a good control group for that. So I think the true number of perpetual dunces is very low. Like maybe 1% of people are just not gonna make it. They're just too fucked up. But I think for the rest of the 99% that could make it and are stuck in the bottom quartile with no ability to go up higher, I think we need to make this a more fair system, and we need to engage in steps and focus on making this a fair system for everybody, because that would make this country a better place if it was a meritocracy. If you're born in the bottom quarter of this country and you happen to be great at, fission and splitting atoms, then you should be focused on, and you should be, your gifts should be accentuated and raised and fucking made awesome. But if you're like a rich guy and you aren't good at anything, then you should not stay and have that money and opportunity. That should go to someone who can actually use it for good. And if you create something like that, then the country would exponentially become better. Like, look at how hard people work, and how willing people are to work hard and dedicate their life to something, when we don't have a fair system right now, when we have a system where we're the 27th in social mobility in the world. Like, people are still willing to work hard. Now, now imagine a system where people know that it's a fair system, where we know that you can move within the quartiles and the classes of this country. Like, imagine how much harder people would work. And it's not a zero-sum game. It's not like there's only a certain number of people that can have a nice standard of living. We can give that to a lot of people. We can distribute that in a good way. And if you have a lot of people who are dedicating their life to becoming awesome, you're going to have more awesome shit. And there's going to be more, cool shit that we can distribute to more people. But if you have a system that doesn't treat people fairly, then people aren't going to work hard. If your goal is to trap people into these dead-end jobs so that they can't start a revolution or change the wealth distribution of this country in a significant way, then people aren't going to work hard. They're not going to create awesome shit. It's also true that multimillionaires' families often become broke after 3 to 4 generations because they don't necessarily have necessity driving them, leading to hedonism. Well, I think that some countries are better at preserving millionaires than others, and I don't know if we have a great system for letting millionaires fairly be judged by the system. But I mean, if you look at the royalty in some ancient countries, then that's some crazy amount of wealth disparity there. We are all to have our sanity. Yeah, from destroying. When am I coming to Jacksonville? I don't know. Doing this shit, it really made me realize how I could be doing this anywhere. I can just rent out a comedy club or a theater space, sell tickets on my own, market it on my own, and buy my own hotel room and plane ticket and rental car. I could do this independently, and that's what I think I'm going to start to do. I'm just going to take a risk. I have enough Joe Rogan money for me to try this out in different cities, I'm gonna make a little run of it and just see what happens. I'm not gonna wait around for some guy that owns a comedy club to be like, hey, you wanna come through and do this here? I'm just gonna be like, fuck it. I'm gonna fucking do it wherever I want. I'm gonna go to the cities that I want to go to. Because I can book hotels, I can book flights. These things aren't hard to do. The only thing is that it's like a risk. I have to risk my money because I might fly to a city, buy a hotel room, do all this for nothing. And I'm fine with that, honestly. It's like a free vacation with the risk, like that some bad shit will happen. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna start to do. Like I'm gonna start to go around the whole comedy club system and do it on my own. And if comedy clubs want to give me a door deal so that I don't have to worry about this shit, then I'm gonna do that too. But I can do this all on my own, and I think that's very attractive to me. I don't know how it works with taxes and all that. I want to do it just through Venmo and Cash App and Zelle, but it's really hard to figure out how it's going to be. And yeah, the thing I'm worried about is taxes. If they're going to be like, oh, you didn't report this or whatever, so I'm going to have to figure that out. But yeah, I'm just going to go around to whatever comedy clubs I want to go to, whatever theater space will have me, find a good space for it. What I would like to do is like go to the independent places, because there's always like an independent place that people in the comedy scene go to. So yeah, I might do that. Yeah, ideally I would find out a comedian that I trust in the scene that I want to go to and be like, hey, where's like your underground theater where people, comedians hang out, and how much is it to rent? I think most clubs you can rent for $150. So if I could do that, I can just rent out a place for $150, pay for plane, pay for whatever, it could work out. I just need to find someone that I'd want to travel with and someone who can reliably do it. And my schedule is all up in the air because I'm subservient to my masters. I am a Padawan, a little apprentice, and my bosses, they have big shows that are very helpful to my career that I would rather do. So it's kind of hard for me to schedule things, but I can figure it out. And there's a couple weekends that are open, so like it's so crazy with Kill Tony. Like I'm one of the few comedians my age that can sell tickets to shows. Like people want to come see me because there's just so many eyeballs on me. So any city I want to go to, I can just look at the theaters and pick a theater I want to go to, pick a city I want to go to, fucking rent it out. Totally independent, baby. Don't need anybody else. An independent businessman. Yeah, I think that the business of comedy clubs is inherently exploitative. Yeah, it's crazy because some clubs I make $2,000 at, and other clubs I make $300 at. So I just need to stop getting fucked. But yeah, I'm excited to do it on my own, because that way it's all me, there's no one else, and I like the idea of that. Just people giving me money independently, and selling merch. It's all, I don't have to use any banks, I don't have to, make it official. I don't want to use any credit cards. It's just all going to me without any percentage going to someone else. I just think that's a really attractive idea to me. Just simplicity. It's like we have all this technology, so we don't need all these agents and things. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. Thoughts about becoming a Comedy Store regular? I would love to be at the Comedy Store. The thing is, like, I've got all this cool credits now from being in Austin, that I could go to LA, but to become a Comedy Store regular, I'd have to be a regular at the Comedy Store. That means I'd have to live in LA, and I just don't like the system in LA or New York. There's just too many people there that have been there before and that have perverted it to become a system of ass kissing rather than a system that is actually about comedy. There's just too many people there, and the art of social climbing and kissing ass is just too valuable in a system where there's that many people. It's just so much harder to actually be funny and be recognized for it. So I think that overall I think it's a tough thing to do. And plus, Joe Rogan is going to open up his new club, and like, people who live in LA, all they want to do is hang out at the Comedy Store anyways. So if I could do that in Austin, if they have a club like the Comedy Store in Austin, Joe Rogan's new club, then it's like, I'm just going to be hanging out at one club anyways. What's the point of doing it in LA or Austin? If I can live better in Austin, then it's going to be the same thing as LA. I'm going to be at one place anyways. I might as well be at one place in Austin than in LA. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I love the idea of the Comedy Store. I don't love the idea of LA or New York. I just think that it's been polluted by too many desperate people who are too desperate to get ahead that they're willing to kiss ass and get in positions of power because they want it more than people that actually want to get good at comedy, and then they use their positions of power to only reward those who kiss their ass because that's the only thing they respect. That's how they got to where they are. They didn't get there by being good at comedy, so they don't respect people who are good at comedy. If you're not good at kissing ass, then they don't respect you, and I think it's just been perverted. The system in New York and LA is just too much about favoritism, and just, it's all favoritism. It's just so pointless. It's a pointless game to get good at, because if you can't go on stage and do favoritism, you got stage time by playing favoritism, and now you have no skills that translate to the stage. I'd rather do it the way I did it. All I did was comedy, and then I had some basic social awareness to not say the N-word, or call some of my mentors like a bunch of Jews, and now I didn't have to waste any energy and waste any marbles getting good at some useless skill. Now all my skill and all my energy was poured into comedy, and so I got the stage time and the access through comedy, and I didn't have to waste any of my energy and bleed off speed getting good at talking to people and drinking and sharing a laugh with them. I just did it through the skill of what we're trying to get good at, which I'm trying to get good at, so it's just more efficient that way. So coming to New Smyrna Beach. Alright, well, that's my time. Thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you next time. Love you. I hope that you guys live long and